One day, while fearing for my life from the local poo-poo spray guy, it dawned on me that while being the scariest moment of my life, I thought, hey, I should make a video on... And while chugging 3 gallons of Elmer's glitter glue while sprinting home like the true crystal player I am, I will now give a common collected recollection of the events of base game, as if I have a horrible case of schizoid fever. While playing, it hit me like a semi-truck going down a school zone at 60 plus that, wow, I am playing as a vapid trog who mauls over shit dungeons and will blow up land larger than the smelly hole that is Los Angeles. So I thought to myself that this is the game's industry equivalent of putting illicit substances in minority neighborhoods, but it's for the neurodivergent, and it's not drugs, it's anime. And so, since I am tasked with killing Jod, plural, dealing with the Old Dawn Cabal, dendrophiles, and pirates, it's best to go about this as if I was stealing the no-speeding school zone sign. And on the side, blow up the entire expansion force for an empire. And since Jod, plural, can't stop me, but the plant from 1.0 can, it really puts the anime storyline into perspective. And now, since I have your ire and attention, and the attention of the Cabal who I owe a large sum of pennies to, for your viewing pleasure, sit back, relax, and enjoy this schizophrenic nightmare. Now that I've had enough formaldehyde to kill a small horse within 3 hours, let's get this moving. Once you've created your warrior of light, you start in the city of your choosing. You have incorrect, somehow worse, and you love indentured servitude. The 3 flavors of what's wrong with you, and I started in the hellhole of empty wallets and broken dreams known as Ul'dah. A short bit along the first few quests, you then run into this pompous fuck and Dante, who without hesitation throw you into a conflict with beings beyond your comprehension. After the event, you have the worst schizo breakdown I've seen since Gabriel lost to a GoPro, which ends up becoming a very common theme as if it wasn't a part of my daily life anyways. They then act like you just fell asleep, which gives the idea that Ul'dah has a narcotic problem. Then El Dante just fucks off, and then you fight a golem right after. Really giving the triple parentheses look over here, huh? Now that I am what is called a herald for the lacking, while I could be committing a semi-mass murder against wildlife, here I am being an over-hyperbolized mail service for the rich and powerful. Man, Coolsville fucking sucks. Oh boy, look at that, it's time for everyone's favorite content, low-level dungeons. We have Sastasha, the Dark Souls 2 DLC, then we got Tam Slam Bam Deepcroft, and finally for the trio, Copperhell Mines, where the children yearn for. And after that whole fiasco, we then deal with the Prions of the 7th Dawn, consisting of Dante, leased car saleswoman Pops, and the Gunner's Lieblingsmensch. Less on the Mensch and more on the Katzenmädchen. And now, with the Gunner squad assembled, me and Dante go out of our way to find the Lord of the Inferno. This fight comes a little bit after a wacky adventure in Camp Drybone where I put on my best transient hobo impression and blend in with the locals. But it got me nowhere because a guy with a crackhead's haircut decided to sell out the squad, and now I'm forced to fight this wacky fire lizard. Trust me when I say this fight is one hell of a pushover compared to how much effort I put into making this scene, because you can send his ass back to the Aether in like 5 minutes. Visually it's peak though. Now to continue on with the visual bipolar disorder. Because the Schizoid show has no proverbial breaks, I am here again dreaming of colored crack crystals, wondering if this is Nirvana or a small taste of Hyperborea. And now that I've taken my meds and my Aura GF is gone, I can regale you of a tale most terrible. Titan. After killing Jod 1, I run back to the Goober Squad to get my payment, just to find out 3 sweaty men have burst through the door looking to conscript me into one of the do-nothing and get-nothing militaries. Then they make me go beat up some garlic maulders because Fatboy and Slim got 1 pumped before they hit Tilted Towers. Now that I have beaten up inebriates with 3 eyes, they welcomed me into the immortal flames with open arms, in which I responded, "I'm going to crack open your skull with a crowbar." He gave some retort similar to, "That's the spirit," and from there I knew where my loyalties lied. If this small man does not fear the crowbar, it's ride or die now. Then I was told to return to the Goof Troop, legally distinct of course. Not wanting to be there, I listened to nothing the lady with a strange lack of clothing had to say, but me being the autism savant that I was, heard the door open. I insulted everything about these men, ranging from their clothing to the manlet's hairstyle that made him look like a repugnant onion. But to my surprise, they seem to have forgotten the insults. My guess is either they're drunk, high, stupid, or all the above. Now that I have finished driving over that speed bump right after a beer, I am asked to go befriend sentient lettuce with a penchant for summoning old men. And for some reason, I agree to this, because in my world of I have no free will of my own. You rue the day, you damn crystal harlot. Then I find out one of their tribe members has made a half-witted choice and ran into the 1,000 maws of Toto's ass. And in its deep dark recesses, I have found yet another one of those black-clad gooners, who, like any normal person, starts a conversation by speaking in tongues, which baffles me, because why shouldn't it? I mean, I'd be weirded out too, man. Then the Goonstar bows and says, "I am Haha Breeder of the Ass-Eatons," or something like that. Which, I mean, go off, man, but keep that whack shit to yourself. As I'm shitting myself to get out of this conversation, he then tells me I'm going to eat shit here, and then throws the dark juice at the bug on the wall, which, I mean, sure. And then he proceeds to emit what I can only assume is his way of hotboxing, and then he proceeds to mog the camera and then leave. I am now skipping ahead because this section is a better dick flattener than all of Dawn Trail, and I'd rather not waste my already wasted time on talking about spooky houses that you spend at least 7 seconds in, and ranting about how goblin cheese is a very needed and absolutely crucial part of a plan to prove that I can kill rocks better than Chris Redfield. And now it's time to talk about Rock the Cock Lobster and how this fat chad of sentient sediment has the most themes in the entire game, to the point where it really, really makes you question what kind of terminal autism the music producer has. But anyway... After dealing with D. Wayne, the Pebble Johnson, and return to the waking nightmare, I find out that there was a crime committed without my help. I'm not upset that they beat up and murdered my friends. It's more if they did it without me. But after getting prematurely kicked out of my own home, I decided to seek Anime Jesus. Just as my luck tends to kick me in my gilded balls more often than not, I now find this guy who can't remember jack shit about himself, and it's now my job as John Light to help this possibly geriatric man remember who he is. So now we head on over to French Elf Land, which after assaulting this old military base, we find a neat shitbox up above a dragon's roost. Just as I thought testicular eradication seemed to be the worst of my luck, King Goon of Goonergon shows up again, stares at me in ways that made Lord Baby Oil look like an upstanding individual. Next thing I know, he decides to goon all over the room with his hotboxing tactic, stare at me again, then leave the premises, and now I have a Roid Rage Dragon to deal with. After dealing with Rich Biana's Roid Rage Dragon, we are able to return to Shitbox Gaming. So then we leave Joseph Geriatric to go work on it. And somehow this is meant to help me beat up a bunch of avian simps and their hyper-osmic e-girl. Getting straight into it, because this was like 3 quests from Titan, we now gotta deal with the Harlot Queen, who for some unknown reason is cheeked up in public as if this was an anime convention. She taunts us 3 goobers like any unrespecting e-girl would, tried making me into a simp, which fails horribly because I fear interaction, which she has a minor conniption fit over, and me and the boys just stare more confused than anything. She goes full Goku wannabe, asks for her devout simps to empower her with their dog noises, calls me gay, blows the homies, calls me gay again. I pull a no you reverse card, And because she can't deal with conflict, she pulls a Go/Joe mid-air, and then I get the green crack crystal, and now I can summon Exodia. After eating my pop rock, Garuda decides to pull a "I'ma just get mad and throw a tantrum and get my siblings to beat your ass," in which the funny man Guy-Ass von Balsor pulls up with the Ultima weapon, who completely wrecks house by demolishing the other two icons, then destroying Garuda, to the point where I might need to worry about reaction streamers watching my dog water content. After seeing what the metal lizard can do, I then book it as if they were an FBI agent without a search warrant. I return to base to figure out what to do next, then I fall asleep, I have a schizo dream about a blue methamphetamine formation talking to me. Then I wake up, the white-haired cat girl then shows up out of nowhere and explains exactly what to do and where to go. God, I love Deus Ex Machinas. Now that I have dealt with filler off screen and committed murder of a Praefectus hitting the gritty, and after more filler we begin the underwhelming siege of Vacastrum, where of course everyone is useless except me, and this big large sweaty man we found outside an old Don Denny's gives a speech. Then after breaking through some defenses you would expect to have been planned by the defense minister's 5-year-old son, we find this lady who simps way too hard over Guy-Ass. She rants, tries to kill me, fails, whines about losing, dies, then the geriatric hobo tells me about this one time at band camp. After dealing with the White Girl Wednesday Tribunus, we arrive at the Praetorium in the Geriatric Express. The old man finally decides to form some actual sentences, which in the end made no sense nonetheless. He looks at me, rants about how every villain is lemons, then the Trog and the Manlet run away seeing what I'm about to deal with, and they leave me alone with Senile Steve to get work done. After beating up some of the security detail, we once again find ourselves coming face to face with the guy who ends up being a strangely good-looking 56-year-old man. He then reveals that it was indeed him who put Jerry in the retirement home, in which he did not take kindly to that, then explains his plan to take over Eorzea, and that he will use this as his right to rule, even though what he'd be ruling over got their clothes folded with them in it, similar to how I fold like a beach chair over muscular Aura women. He then asks for me to join him. I instinctively step forward aggressively like some kind of Neanderthal. He got really mad, stares at me in a weird way, and pulls up the world's weakest Bluey enjoyer, which he looks like I just called him a man-child for watching that. Moving down the ways, after hopping in some Magitech armor, I come to an impasse, which it kinda looks like Spider-Man had a session with the wall, and they put a seal on it. So my chimp brain decides to do one thing and one thing only. Kaboom. Now realizing I may have killed the only useful thing in this entire raid on this castrum, I get a wee bit sad. Remember that I have a metal lizard to fry, and then walk slowly to the next area, in which shortly after I find a strange man in red armor who looks oddly like an actual lizard man. He mauls about how from his point of view the Jedi are evil. I play along, and then realize it was not a joke, and he pulls down the hammer from the rafters like we are in some WWE tournament. And while he quotes episode 3, I once again show how incompetent everyone is. So he runs away like the prepubescent creature he is. And now I move on to the freight elevator. Once I arrived at the freight elevator's controls, I hear a decent bit of "I paid this random man to speak into the mic" type voice acting. And there is no way this is Geriatric Johnson. The guy speaks with too high of an intelligence score. So I can only assume this is some random dude with poor social skills who grabbed the mic. And as soon as I turn around, him.
Tell me, for whom do you fight?
Gaius came down from the rafters as if he was Gabriel and began to rant to me about how I was drawn as the soy jack and him as the Chad, and how his right to rule is way cooler than anything else here. And since I care less about this land than I care about my next meal, I tune him out, and next thing I know he goes gold and decides to throw hands.
Oh, god damn!
which goes horrible, surprise, surprise, and he runs away. Again. Now that I am on the elevator and confront Gaius, I have a slight run-in with the Ultima weapon, which ends in it blowing up. But before it fully goes critical, Gaius decides to send a message.
I'm dead!
Then, Hee Hee Ha Ha Man comes up and starts speaking in German for some reason. I beat his ass in the Mindscape after going SSGSS, and while everyone outside worries if they'll get their money back or if I'll die, I escape the explosions of the castrum. And now that everything winds down, I have a premonition about the alcohol-induced binge I will go on within the next 20 minutes. And the demon on my shoulder shows itself, telling me about the large sum of crackheads that I have left to deal with. And after I drink myself into a state of stupor, I rest my eyes knowing it was a job horribly done.